Hi, everyone. Welcome to this Tuesday, March 26, 2024, business meeting of the Oyster Bay East Norwich School District. Can everyone please rise for the stand of Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Let's look at some correspondence. Ms. Santos?
All correspondence was via email. 3-1, Monica Altamirado, inquiry on employee contracts. 3-8, Meredith Davis, parent-teacher conference conflicts. 3-11, Elaine Ronaldo, praise for the High School Musical Chicago. 3-13, Grace Serby, proposed budget 24-25. 3-17, Grace Serby, school reserves. 3-19, Sabin Panu, regarding busing. 3-22, Elaine Ronaldo, regarding CBS Class Act experience, and thank you to Dr. Yanni for all he has done and continues to do. 3-26, Kelly Conroy, Connor Bird, OB girls varsity lacrosse coach.
Thank you, Ms. Santos. I'd like to turn it over now to Dr. Yanni for the superintendent's report.
Everybody. Tonight I will go out of order a little bit. So at this point, I'd like to invite to the podium Mr. Bramoff for the athletic awards. And I want to take this opportunity to congratulate all our athletes for the outstanding job.
Thank you, Dr. Yanni. Thank you to the Board of Education. I really do look forward to these nights where we can celebrate our athletes. Tonight we'll be celebrating our winter athletes with their Coaches Awards recognitions, as well as celebrating our county champions. So we're going to go right into our presentation. Athletes, when I call you up to the stage, you're going to come up and receive your certificate, and then we'll stay up front and we'll have one big photo at the end. I think Kristen is here. Kristen, hi. All right. And congratulations, Kristen. When you come on up, you'll get your certificate from Dr. Yanni and Ms. Kowalski, and then we'll pause for one large group photo. All right. Moving into girls basketball, coached by Coach Richard Geiger and Miss Murcott. We have our all classification Themi Vumvarakis, all class scholar athlete. Also in girls basketball, all classification, Miss Elise Kim. Come on up. In girls basketball, Grace Samuldusky, all conference. And she just won her first race as a member of our track team. So congratulations, Grace. All right. Moving over to boys basketball, coached by, hi, Themi. Again, Themi Vumvarakis. All class, Themi Vumvarakis. Moving into boys basketball, coached by Coach Brust, we have Joseph Gotti, all conference. We have Ashton Pilatos, all conference. Moving into fencing, and I don't think any of you saw the CBS special, or did you? We have an outstanding fencing program here by Coach Bruckner and Coach Ian B. So, Mr. Bruckner, why don't you come on up on stage and you can pose with our athletes, all right? Come on up. If you don't have to, it's all right. We're going to go with our first fencer, Miss Gabriella Sherlock. County champion, all Long Island, all county. Congratulations, Gabby. Over on the boys side, we have our county champion, all county, Mr. Luke Kugler. And Scarlett Shelley, all county. Come on up, Mr. Bruckner. All right. Also for fencing, Emma Curry, all county. Riley Bear, all county. Moving over to winter track, Liana Altamirano, all county. Winter track is coached by Coach Weber and Coach Cotter. Nina Balone, all county. Nicolette Lewis, all county, county champion, and went back to the nationals just recently. Jocelyn Shadler, all county. Emmeline Zeller, all county. Over to cheerleading, coached by Coach Holly Roselle. Come on up, Coach. Come on up, Coach. And our first cheerleader is Lauren Emerson, all county. Brianna Hyde, all county cheer. Gianna Paredes, all county cheer. Emma Curry, all class scholar athlete cheer. She's already up here. Cheerleading, Nico Flores, all class. Cheerleading, Ella Reardon Rizzo, all class. Jordana Smookler, all class. Claire Cortez, Coaches Award. Nina Balone, come on up, all class. Track and field. Grace Curry, Coaches Award, cheerleading. Over to winter track, coached by Coach Weber. We have a man who I don't believe is here, needs no introduction, Christopher Tarduno, county champion, all county, conference champion, and all conference, also qualified for the New York State Championships. Winter track, Chris Dean, county champion, all county, all conference. Winter track, Omek Kumar, county champion, all county. Winter track, James Salvato, county champion, all county. Winter track, Zachary Green, county champion, all county, all conference. Winter track, Anthony Esquerdo, all county, all conference. Winter track, Lucas Sanzone, all county. Winter track, Andrew Jeanette, all conference. Winter track, Michael Lewis, all conference. Winter track, Matthew Zakarian, all conference. Winter track, Austin Ascentino, county champion, all county, conference champion, all conference. Moving into wrestling, we have Colton Schmeisling. Colton, I'm sorry. Eric, I'm sorry if I butchered the last name. All state, all county, county champion, and he finished 8th in New York State, and he made it to the podium. Callaway treble, all conference wrestling. And I would like to call up at this time if there's any members of the county champion boys winter track team to please join us up here for the photo. If there's any members in the audience. Thank you very much. Come on up. Chris is not here. Callaway's not here. Dean's not here. Zach Green's not here. Not here. Jeanette not here. That's everybody. All right. And then, all right. Dr. Yanni, I present to you your winter county champions, your winter all conference, your winter all state, and your winter all county athletes. Congratulations.
So on Tuesday, March 19th, Oyster Bay High School had the pleasure to host 12 engineers, and among 5 of them, there were 5 alumni. They came back to meet with the students and work with them. During the event, the students had an opportunity to network and talk about the different fields of engineering, the civil, mechanical, environmental, and software. Witnessing the students with all the professionals, people get excited about my presentation. Witnessing those professionals working with the students was really wonderful, because it give us an opportunity to look at a vision of empowering all students to achieve excellence. So I want to thank Ms. Supabra Mahler-Jain and Mr. Schlendorf for organizing the event and organizing this event that is taking place pretty much every year. So great job on that end. On Wednesday, March 20th, the district hosted the Cavalcade of Choir, and it was a wonderful opportunity to see all the students from grades 5 through 12 with Ms. Cozy and Mr. Christidis come together and see the entire program. So I want to thank all the teachers. I want to thank our Director of Finding and Performing Arts, Ms. Erica G. Yopak. The auditorium was packed, and they did a wonderful, wonderful job. So it was nice to see that. So congratulations. Last Friday, we had the privilege of showcasing our talented programs and a national stage. The CBS morning show, Class Act with Chris Rigg was here. Um, it was truly amazing to see the students at 5 o'clock in the morning, so excited. Energy was palpable all over the gymnasium, and they truly demonstrate the passion and dedication that we have in our schools. I have to extend a major thank you to Ms. Argument and our exceptional team for orchestrating and for the remarkable event. The dedication and enthusiasm were infectious, igniting a sense of pride and excitement among students, staff, and the parents that were in attendance. It was a moment of immense pride because it really showed the unique programs and initiatives that we have in our schools. And it was broadcast pretty much on a national TV. We had text and emails from all over the place. I am confident that every day we are inspiring, challenging, and supporting our students to reach new height of success. But tonight, I also want to express my gratitude to the Board of Education and the community for the unwavering support of my ideas and the numerous initiatives I brought to this district. Your belief in a vision and the dedication that I had providing the best structure for the students is truly remarkable, and it's really, as a superintendent, I think I cannot ask for a better board that supports all the crazy ideas at times that I have. But when we looked at the broadcasting studio and you look at a national anchor like Chris, recognizing the amazing place that we have in a 1929 building, it was truly inspiring for me and my team, and it gave us energy to do even more. So thank you. Friday was a long day. We started at 4:30. We got here. I know that some of the students were here even early. We started at 4:30 and we ended the day at 8 o'clock with 8:30 with the fashion show. I was part of it. It's my favorite event. This is the second time that we have the show. Olivia Gallo and many other students participated. I think there were 35 students, 13 stores donated clothes. It was truly a remarkable event, and the best part of it was that they raised almost $5,000 for this event. The organization was quite remarkable, and it was fun to be backstage and walk down the runway. It was great. It made me feel a model for a second. So great job on Olivia and the entire team. So keep up the great work. So tonight I will have, I am also not only a superintendent of schools, but I'm also a substitute because Ms. Raynor, our deputy superintendent, has laryngitis, so she can't talk. So I get to present. So Ms. Raynor, I hope I do it just as good job as you do all the time. So talking about the budget, the mission and the vision of the school of empowering all students to achieve excellence is something that we focus on all the time in everything that we do every single day. And when you look at our programs and you look at what we do, the main goal is to provide the students with everything that they need to be successful. And at the same time, we need to be fiscally responsible for the community. And unbalance with either one would be something that it will not be something that we wanna do. So when you look at the budget focus, and the main thing was to maintain, stay within the allowable tax levy. I mean, that has been a goal. And some people ask, how do you really do that when you have a CPI that is increasing 6-8%, and you have deficit in terms of resource that coming in, less state aid? How do we do that? Is by reallocating resource. And we want to make sure that we reallocate resource so we find whatever program is working, whatever program can be used in a different way, something that we can change still providing the students with all the necessary programs that they need. So we reallocate resource. And the other piece that it's always important to keep in mind is that our school is good, but we have to keep up with the infrastructure. We have this building. It was built in 1929. When you look at bricks, you're looking at all the work that needs to be done. It needs a constant update on everything that we do. So remaining fiscally responsible and focusing on the structure, that's something that it is a focus in every budget that we have. So tonight, when we talk about the budget, we're talking about the budget structure. We look at the revenue side of the budget, the expense sides of the budget, and then we look at the budget overall and some of the details, numbers, and the capital reserve. That is something that we use every year. We use some of the reserves, and then we replenish at the end of the year, and then it creates a cycle so we maintain our facilities in top condition. So when you look at the budget structure, as a former med teacher, that's quite an easy equation. The expense side of the budget and the revenue side of the budget, they need to be equal to each other. When you look at this year, it was kind of challenging because what we have on the revenue side, we had less state aid with some of the cuts that you have seen in the paper. And then the other piece that is kind of dealing, and it's something that I've been dealing with that as a superintendent for many years, is the tax cap, the 2% tax cap that we have to stay within. So you have a less revenue coming in, and then when you look at the expense side of the budget, you see the increase in cost. I mean, you go to Home Depot, you go to the store, you go anywhere, you see the increase in everything that you buy, and also the increase overall in the benefits cost that unfortunately we are stuck with and we don't have any control. So when you look at the left side and the right side, they need to be equal to each other, and that's the main part. So looking at the revenue side of the budget, one thing that is sort of frightening in this community is the fact that we're pretty much dealing with 89% of the burden of the budget is on the community, the tax levy. So 88.7% comes from the levy that we get from the community. The state aid is about less than 5%, and then we have some other revenues about 6% in terms of rent and other income that we have. But when you look at that pie chart, you could see that the bulk of the income, it comes from the community. So we focus on that and we spend a lot of time because we don't have the luxury of having 15, 20% that is coming from the outside. It all comes from the community, and we are aware of that. When you look at the tax cap, we've been staying within the tax cap for many years. Right now, based on the calculation, is 2.41%. And a lot of people ask me, Tatiani, why is 2.4 when everybody's talking about 2%? And the reason is because there are certain exclusion, and that's dictated by a formula that is given to us. So when you put all the exclusion, all the different components of that calculation, it's a simple 8-step calculation, growth factor and all of that, you end up with the 2.41, which is within the allowable tax levy. So the community doesn't have to go over the 50%. So when you look at the revenue side, we have a total revenue from the community that is about 58,195,000, and the revenue non-tax levy, which is other income, would be about 7 million, for a total of the budget of 65,603,000. When you look at the different components to that number, you have the state aid, which you see in parentheses that we had a decrease, and you've seen in the paper of about 628,000. You've seen on the paper 530, but then with all the other components, you got 628,000. And then we have the allocation of the reserves, which is usually a very, very difficult balance to maintain, because you want to use the reserves, but at the same time, you don't want to use it too much. And you want to leave a reasonable amount, a healthy amount of reserves, because at the end of the day, when the budget is done and is complete, we don't have the luxury of going back to the community and say, well, I ran out of money, I need more money. My daughter is doing very well with that. You set up a budget and then he says, well, I need more. Here, unfortunately, we cannot do that. I hope she's not listening because I will be in trouble. But anyway, so we don't have the luxury. Once the budget is set, we don't have the luxury of asking for more. So you always need to create a little bit of buffer, and that's why you have the reserves. That's why you have all the different components of the budget. So fund balance, we use the money that is sort of left every year to lower the levy for the following year. And then, obviously the tax levy that we mentioned before, 58 million, which is pretty much what we have. And you see the difference between the tax levy and the total budget, the difference. And the reason is because we are going back to the budget line by line, and we look at everything that we can kind of reallocate. So if there is a program that can be done using technology, if there is something that can be done in a different way, that's where we go back and we kind of sharpen our pencils. And that's why you see the difference between the difference in the levy to levy 1.3 million, and then you see the total budget difference is 1.1. That's a clear indication that we are doing that. We're going little by little and look at it, everything. And the budget process is a simple process because you go line by line. You look at every line and you say, well, we spend this much. How much we have been spending over the past few years, and then you go back and you kind of review that. When you look at the expense side of the budget, we are in a tough position over here, because when you look at the expense side of the budget, you have pretty much a lot of it that is, you have pretty much no control. And the reason you have no control is because you're dealing with salaries, you're dealing with benefits, you're dealing with transportation. Those numbers are fixed. So there is nothing that you can really do. You get to the point when you look at the expense side of the budget, you are very, very close to count the number of paper clips that you have in your drawer, because at that point, that's the only flexibility that you have. And that's what you see in the BOSIs, and you see the equipment, and you see in the facility. The rest is pretty much stuck. And I think that this graph, it really shows, this pie graph, it really gives you a clear picture of what we have. The blue and the red is pretty much stuff that you can really touch. You can negotiate at some point, but when you have transportation, you have benefits, you have salaries and wages, you can't really do much. So you're dealing with about probably a little bit more than 75% that it is, kind of fixed, and you can't really do anything about it. So you have the rest that you can be creative. When you look at the budget overview, the total number, again, that we are, as of right now, proposing, there's been a lot of discussion about the foundation aid and the coming back of some amount. We haven't seen any yet, but as of right now, budget, we have a 65,603,880. Some of the work that we're proposing for the capital reserve and that we're presenting to the community, that we've been sharing with the board, some of the capital reserve that we have, this is a chart showing the amount of reserve used and funded and what we have at the end of every school year. So you see that the numbers have been pretty consistent. So you see the capital reserve, the technology reserve, and pretty much has been kind of consistent. We use and we put it back. We use and we put it back. What we're proposing right now is an expenditure of the 440 and technology 415. And the specifics of it are pretty much here, where we, when we look at the capital reserve, we're looking at, in each school, we're looking at new flooring and ceiling with plaster renovation. At the high school, a building, like I said before, built in 1929. There is constant maintenance that needs to take place. At James Vernon, we have a main central fan that circulates the air throughout the building, and some of renovation in the gymnasium. And then at Theodore Roosevelt, we have some concrete replacement, lighting, some of the lights, and security locks, probably one of the some of the gymnasium doors, to make sure that the students are safe and secure. So that's about 440, and that cost is based on, that number is based on the estimates that we received. In terms of the technology, our students are one-to-one, K to 12, so there is a constant work on upgrading and maintaining the device that students have. So iPads, Chromebooks. We recycle, so every couple of years, everybody will have a upgraded software and hardware. We have staff laptops and interactive boards, so that's a total of 415. Again, I know I'm throwing a lot of numbers at you, but all these presentations are posted online. And also, if you have any questions, you can always call my office, and we can sit down and review anything that will work for you. The budget timeline, we have been pretty consistent. We had another presentation tonight, obviously, just to keep up with all the changes in state aid and foundation aid. So we're going to continue presenting. We have a clear timeline. The budget hearing is on the 7th. The adoption is the next board meeting on the 16th. And the budget vote is on the 21st, and it's from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. And it's in the same place in the beautiful chorus room that was just renovated a couple of years ago. And that's the district clerk, a wonderful district clerk, Ms. Pizarro. So if you have any question, you can always call us. And that's the entire list. At this point, I'm not sure if the board has any questions about the budget. Okay. Thank you very much. Have a good night and have a wonderful break, everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Yanni. And I also want to thank you for getting CBS to come to our school and showcase our students and our programs. You know, I don't know if we've ever had something like that. And Ms. Argerman for getting all the students there at 4:30 in the morning. And then Mr. Pardue for making them all pancakes. I really appreciate it. But thank you. It was really a wonderful thing you did for us students in our school. Let's move on to approval of minutes. Do I have a motion to approve meeting minutes as listed and attached below? So moved. Second? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Let's move on to the opportunity for the public to be heard on agenda items. In accordance with the open meeting laws, school board meetings where school district business will be discussed are open to the public. The Oyster Bay East Norwich Board of Education welcomes public comment at its meetings. The Board of Education will respond to comments and/or inquiries in the appropriate manner. This portion of the meeting is designed exclusively for agenda items. A sign-in book is provided for those residents wishing to address the board. In order to be recognized, you must be signed in. Each speaker will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes. The board president will call you to the microphone in the order in which you have signed in. Public discussion is prohibited regarding matters relating to an individual's reputation, privacy, or right to due process, which in some way could be violated. A second commentary period is provided for non-agenda items prior to adjournment. We thank you for your participation and cooperation. Ms. Grace Serby? How are you? Do you need that lower?
Athletes, especially track and field. I believe my daughter still has the track record here. I don't know if it's been broken. She graduated in 1983. She had a full track scholarship at Villanova. I wanted to encourage the track and field to really participate. In her 4 years on the track team, she traveled through 24 states. It was a wonderful experience. So do encourage them. I'd like to know if anyone has broken her record. I think she has the 800 and the 1500. I hope so. It's time to be broken. Okay, getting back to the budget. I'm a little disappointed. I said I tried pleading with Dr. Yanni and the school board to just look a little deeper into reducing the budget. You commented about the maximum, the allowable is 2.41%, and I'd like to read. If someone can use this for me. Thank you. We always seem to go for the allowance, the maximum. What's wrong with the minimum? Locust Valley, this was just in the paper. They have, this year, the district will increase the tax levy by 1.96%, which comes to an increase of slightly under 1.7. This represents only a fraction of the tax levy limit that the district can draw from. Again, 1.96, we're at 2.41. Why do we always go for the max? They also said that the tax limit, 1.95, this year they were demonstrating a conservative approach to tax increases over the past 5 years. They're reflecting both cost-serving measures and necessary investments to enhance. That they have reallocated different positions and did their homework. I think I mentioned this to Dr. Ianni and Ms. Rayner, and they said they would reallocate. No reduction in our staff of 335, not just teachers, overall. Everyone seems to have some kind of assistant. This is my concern. How, when we stop increasing the budget? I have a question. Dr. Yanni, you said your salary right now is $340,000, be increased to $360,000 next year. I believe this is 6%. Is this the same percentage that the teachers contracted will be getting in 24, 25? I don't know what the contract is. I'm just curious. I'd like an answer. Also, when we talk about the capital, and then we also have the unrestricted of 2.5 million, how is that going to be applied at all? And also, if we get the additional state aid, hopefully, how are you preparing for that 500,000 to reduce our upcoming budget? Would it be in time for the vote? And the 533,000 that we're losing, you show us 600,000 for fundamental something aid. I'm not familiar with that at all, because according to the state, we're reducing or losing 533,000, and you show a $600,000 decrease.
So, just wait 1 second so we can get just wait 1 second so we can get the microphone for you. But I'll. Can you put the microphone?
That sounds good. Thank you. Would anyone like me to repeat any questions?
So
Sure
you
have
had several
enough.
questions, so let me attempt to answer some of them.
Okay.
Yeah, the first one obviously is about my salary, which has been a question that you asked. My salary for next year is 360,000. The year before was 353. My increase was 2%. So it's not 6%, and it's
Well, you said
2%.
360 for next year.
Yes, that's correct.
So what was the starting? It's only
353.
2%.
It was a 353. That's a wonderful thing of being a public employee, so I can explain to you every single penny.
Okay.
So
that's
2%.
Okay.
Yeah,
My
just like
year.
everybody else.
Is,
I know.
is the teacher's contract, what percent increase? Is it for this year coming up, 24, 25?
From last year, from this 23, 24 to the 24, 25 is 2% increase.
2%. Okay.
The other question that you had asked was the difference between the 533, the foundation aid, and why we have a decrease instead of 533 of 628.
Yes.
That's because of expense-driven aid, which is added to that. So altogether, our decrease in aid is about 628. So it's
I don't
533.
understand that other fundamental. Is that part of the state reduction as well?
Yes, yes.
Why then do they only list 533 and you're listing
You
600,000?
gotta ask the governor.
I
I
don't
mean, I
understand.
wish she could not take $628,000 away from us, but it's obviously it's something that have been given to us, taken away from us. So that's the other piece, the other question.
But you keep saying they're taking away. All I read was 533,000. You keep saying it's 628,000. What is that difference of 100,000? Who's taking from whom?
So the 533 is from the foundation aid. The difference is from the expense-driven aid. So that's a reduction that you have, an additional reduction that you have
Is that from the state
Correct.
as well?
from the state, correct?
I follow you, but I don't understand why it's listed at 533 and then 628. So somewhere there's a gap that doesn't make sense to me.
Fund 533 is just foundation aid. The rest is based on other aid that is taken away from us.
Okay.
Okay.
In
The other
addition,
piece the other question that you had before the microphone went out was about the Locust Valley.
yes.
Unfortunately, I'm not the superintendent of two districts, which is fortunate. I love to be the superintendent of Oyster Bay, and that's what I stay focused on. So I don't know what they do in Locust Valley. Not that I'm particularly. I don't know their finance, so
the
I can't
point
speculate.
is,
Let me.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you can let me finish. So I don't know what they do with their money. I know what I do with Oyster Bay's money.
The point is, you are going the maximum allowed of 2.41.
Mhm.
Locust Valley is doing 1.96. Why can we, this district, not lower our tax levy? That's the question.
Because when I recommend a budget to the board, I don't have a myopic view of the year to year. I look years in advance, right? I look at 2, 3, 4 years from now. So some districts have done in the past have done zero budget, and now they have problems that I don't have. So, like I said before, I can't really talk about what Locust Valley is doing, but what I could tell you is that going to the allowable tax levy and looking at 3, 4 years in advance, I believe my recommendation to the board is that is the right thing to do, because if you look year to year and you don't look 3, 4 years in the future, you may end up in a situation that 3 years from now you cannot go back. So if you leave money on the table by not going to the allowable, and you leave money on the table, you will never be able to recuperate that amount. So when I recommend something to the board, I'm not looking at just 24, 25 school year. I look at 3, 4 years. So there is a level of stability, just like we had with the bond, right? Anybody could have said, don't go for another bond. Let the levy go all the way down. But if you do that, the following year, the levy will go up to 5, 6%. So my recommendation to the board is to avoid a fluctuation, because when you have a fluctuation up and down, it creates a problem for the community. That's
I
my
realize
recommendation.
that, and I respect that. However, my concern for the past couple of years, we've had surplus. In 2023, we wound up with a $2.7 million surplus. To me, that's ridiculous. We also have, aside from that, in our unassigned fund balance, June 30th, 23, we have $2.5 million. What are we doing with all of this? Now, I know you're going to take some out of the capital project. That balance was 2.5. So we are doing very well, which is great. But on the other hand, help this community by not increasing the budget every year. Last year was $2 million. This year it's another $1 million. When will this stop? It just can't continue. People are still starving here. They can't put food on the table, and you're again asking. I would really like to hear some comments from the school board. Does anyone have any?
Before
Comment?
I let the board speak, I just want to let you know that the unassigned is within the 4%, which is allowed. That's where we are. And also every year, part of the fund balance we use to lower the levy the following year. So just to give you an idea of what we do with the money. But just go on.
Ms. Serby, you saw what the CPI was, right, the last few years? Do you know what the CPI was for the last few years?
Went up to 6-7%.
Right, 6-7%.
Right.
So all of our costs have been going up 6, 7, 8%. Our tax increase is 2%. So we're already cutting and combining to get to 2%. I don't know what Locust Valley's situation is. I don't know if maybe they had more areas that they could cut. But right now, to have only a 2% increase, right, when transportation costs alone have skyrocketed. You know what healthcare has gone. Healthcare is skyrocketing.
Sure.
You've asked, are we trying to contain healthcare costs? Yes, we are. I mean, you've been around since we had 6% and 8% budget increases.
And I didn't vote for them.
Right. And
when I was on the board.
and you used to come to the meetings all the time. And I could understand that type of thing. But that's no longer the situation. 2% is it. So when you have CPI especially going up at sometimes 8% a year, and we have to somehow handle those types of costs, I don't think this is the year where you say, hey, 2% is too high, especially when you're looking at those CPI increases.
Thank you.
So Ms. Serby, I'm looking through Locust Valley's budget, when you brought it up. So they have a $93 million budget. So when you're looking at a budget-to-budget increase on a $93 million budget, obviously you're on a much higher base, right? But we still have tremendous fixed costs in this school. That doesn't change the fact that we have 3 buildings that we need to ensure that we have the proper capital improvements on a yearly basis. So we feel it's prudent on an annual basis to continue to contribute to the capital reserve, the technology reserve. Because as we know, when we had to switch to all technology during the pandemic, we actually had the funds on hand in order to put a computer in every kid's hand. But we also know computers mature every 3 years now. So we have to ensure that, as these kids graduate, we can replace the technology. We can replace roofs, etc. So I'm looking here at Locust Valley's budget, and they take $3 million out of their capital reserves each year, or 2.5 for the last 5 years each year, in order to do projects. We don't have capital reserves that we could take $2.5 million a year on.
We have a reserve of
$2.5
$2.5 million.
What?
We have capital reserve of $2.5 million balance as of June 30th.
Yeah, but every year, we're
Well,
not
as of
putting
June 30th, we had
$2.5 million
that.
in our capital reserves. But I'm looking at Locust Valley. Every year, they're putting $2.5 million in their capital reserves. So the problem is that when we look to our budget to budget, we're in a much smaller budget basis than Locust Valley is.
Yes.
There is a $93 million base. Ours is a $63 million base.
How many students do they have compared to our
I'm
district?
sorry.
How many more students do they have compared to our district?
I'm not sure what the number is too.
So that's why their budget is
Yeah.
higher, obviously.
But what I'm saying is that, when you ask about the unassigned balance, like, why aren't we using, I understand what you're saying. You feel that each year we have a surplus and that we shouldn't be operating in a surplus. But this is the issue. When you're on a tight capital reserves that we have here, and you have tight technology reserves, which we have here, if you operate on a budget to budget where you don't have excess at all, you have no ability to fix a roof if the roof was to leak. You have no ability to maintain your capital assets. So, I'm looking at Locust Valley, and they are prudently taking $2.5 million a year and putting in their capital reserves. And I wish we had $2.5 million a year to put into our capital reserves, but we don't. We don't put that much in. So
Well,
your argument is that their tax base is lower than our levy to levy tax base, but they have more reserves than we have.
But you keep
Ms.
saying we don't
Sanders, can I just
have
add one more piece?
Yeah.
our cap.
Newsday this morning just published the average levy, and it was 2.67, so we are 0.37 below.
Locust Valley was 1.96.
No,
Yeah, but
but
the average.
The average.
Okay.
But Ms. Serby, I've given you plenty more over than 3 minutes. I know-
Yes. Well, I think I read somewhere 10 minutes is allowed. I mean, would anyone else like to speak? I don't want to take the time from anyone else.
No.
I thank you for allowing me this. But again, is any other board member have any comments or opinions?
But the one thing I will say, Ms. Herbie, I'm looking at all the local districts, and I understand why you pick Locust Valley because they're 1.96. But there's no other district that is able to operate at 196. They're at 379, 341, 5.63, 355, 308, 323. Honestly, when I look at this, we're on the low side, and I'm very proud of our budget this year because, we are definitely, if you were to look at, I would say that we're in the lower quadrant of the increase.
Thank you. Just one quick question on the overall expense budget, Ms. Rayner. Transfer to capital and federal funds, $185,000. I don't understand that amount at all. On the overall expense budget on this page, that's the only one I just don't.
Those are all federal funds.
185,000 that we're getting. Is that
You want to try
Right.
to explain? Try your best.
it's the first time? Not
It's
for
a
me.
combination of a couple things. One of which is when
I can't hear you. Your
She
voice.
has laryngitis, so she's
I
having.
know,
she's
So
having a
one
hard
of
time.
them is a
All
that doesn't want
All right,
email. She wants to
I'll
talk.
ask you tomorrow.
what
Yeah,
is
if you
he-
could contact him tomorrow, and
Yeah.
Okay,
that's fine.
thank you.
Thank you,
for
Ms.
your
Serby.
time.
Okay, let's move on to approval of instructional personnel items. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education of the Oyster Bay East Norwich Central School District hereby approves the instructional personnel items as listed in their entirety. Do I have a motion? So moved. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Approval of non-instructional personnel items. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education of the Oyster Bay East Norwich Central School District hereby approves the non-instructional personnel items as listed in their entirety. Do I have a motion? Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Let's move on to approval of business items. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education of the Oyster Bay East Norwich Central School District hereby approves the business items as listed in their entirety. Do I have a motion? So moved. Second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Let's move on to approval of special services resolutions. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education of the Oyster Bay East Norwich Central School District hereby approves the special services resolutions as listed in their entirety. Do I have a motion? Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Let's move on to approval of new business resolutions. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education of the Oyster Bay East Norwich Central School District hereby approves the new business resolutions as listed in their entirety. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Let's move on to the opportunity for the public to be heard on non-agenda items. Okay, no one signed in. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? So moved. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night, everybody.